Full moon. Every culture across the globe has its own versions of demons, werewolves, and vampires, all the things that go bump in the night. Modern scholars surmised that unseen supernatural beings were their way of understanding the world of microbes. Elaborate metaphors to explain the impossible. But what if the old ones knew something the new ones didn't? What if the age of enlightenment led us into the darkness? What if all the things that go bump in the night were real as the microbes we now can see? What if the dark forest stretched around them and the night sky above them? Darkness in all directions, besides the full moon overhead, its silver shine fighting through the thick canopy, making their fire obsolete, though the warmth felt good on his face as they laughed. Or maybe it was all the vodka they drank. Who knows? The only thing he knew was that he loved her, with every bone in his body, all 207 of them. Her dark brown eyes, ash blonde hair, and a crooked little nose she had, all of it. And she loved all of him too. He knew it deep in his gut. The way she smiled when he did, laughed at his dumb jokes, held his hand when they danced, or clung to him as the ring girl exited the big screen. Well, the little screen on the big screen, and to think he almost took his little brother to see that movie. He shivered just thinking about it. "What are you thinking about?" Maria asked. "How I almost took Jake to the movies. Last week, the horror movie?" She shook her head. "He would have run out." "So would I if you weren't with me." Maria smiled, grabbing his hand. She squeezed, and he squeezed back and pulled her in for a kiss. She melted in his arms and he in hers. His ears were burning, and his heart was beating like a car engine. Chris enjoyed her lips for a moment longer, just savoring the moment, before his hand slid into his pocket, before his fingers fumbled with the silver ring, before he broke the kiss, letting himself slide to his knee. "Maria Heather Jones, will you do me the hoe?" "Yes!" she shrieked, her voice somewhere between laughter and panic. "Of course I will!" "Can you at least let me ask?" he asked, laughing. She nodded, smiling from ear to ear. A howl tore through the forest. Not the mournful cry of a dog, nor the lonely call of a wolf, something deeper, rawer. So close it rattled the air in his lungs. Jesus, Chris thought, looking around. That sounded close. He cleared his throat. "Maria Heather Jones, will you do me the honor of making me the happiest man in the world?" he asked, and she nodded, her hands trembling in his. His shook as he tried putting his grandma's ring on her hand. It slid on her slender finger, and a weight fell off his chest. Chris stood, wrapping his arms around her, and kissed her. Hard, passionate, desperate. Maria was the only person ever to understand him. She was the only person to ever see him, and now she was his, and he was hers. And all the world be damned. "I love you," he said. Their lips still locked together. "I love you too," she said and bit his lip. Another howl cut through the silent night, and she stiffened in his arms. "Let's go back," he said, letting her go, "and consummate this engagement." Her smirk turned dangerous, a glint entering her eyes. "You want us to live in sin?" For a little while longer, he grabbed her hand, before the kids and the boring years set in. "Oh, well then, take me to the cabin, wild man." "Oh no." Chris pulled the keys out. "More like mild man. Wild years are already behind us." She laughed, and so did he, the lock clicking behind them. A branch snapped. Chris pushed her inside, eyes scanning the darkness. But he saw nothing. The fire destroyed his night vision. "Chris?" she asked. "Shh," he shushed her, straining to see. Something moved in the dark, big and furry, eyes glowing in the moonlight. Was it a wolf? Shivers ran down his spine. It moved again, more branches snapping. Chris stepped into the cabin and slammed the door shut, the lock clicking. Twice. "What was that?" "I don't know," Chris said, grabbing the fire poker. "We need to lock the back door." "Did you see it?" Maria asked. Chris bolted the back door, the iron latch groaning as he forced it into place. "Chris?" He shook his head, white knuckles squeezing the poker tighter, ears straining to hear. What could it be? Don't know, honey, he said, leaning against the wood, trying to pick up any sound. There was nothing. Not even a bird's chirp. Absolute silence. Then scrape. A shiver ran down his spine. Something scratched across the side of the cabin, claws biting into the wood. Maria pressed against his back, her breath hot on his neck. The scratching continued, circling them. First along the back wall, then to the side, towards the front. Heavy, deliberate steps. Almost calculated. It stopped. His heart pounded in his ears. Eyes focused on the door. Silence again. Thick and pressing. As if the entire forest held its breath. The handle squeaked as if bent. The door groaned as if something pushed against it. The metal handle sprang up. Maria jumped and yelped. Chris pulled her back, putting himself between Maria and the door. His heart in his throat. His palms sweating on the iron poker. Scraping began again. Moving away from the door, towards the window. Chris moved with it, circling Maria as the thing circled them, the heavy steps moving steadily towards the window. Two pale yellow eyes gleamed in the moonlight, staring, unblinking. Chris's stomach dropped, breath catching in his throat. The pale eyes disappeared. He took a shaking breath, unable to look away from the window. "Chris," Maria whispered, her voice trembling. "What is that?" "A bear," he whispered, knowing damned well that was no bear. "Are you sure?" He nodded, not trusting himself to speak. A howl tore through the night again, reverberating through him, shaking his chest. Another joined it. Then another. Something slammed against the cabin wall. So hard the walls trembled. Dust rained from the ceiling. Shit, he thought, spinning to face it. It slammed against the front door. It rattled on its hinges. Maria's nails dug into his arm. "It's not leaving." "No," Chris croaked. "Why?" "Don't know, honey," he said, seeing the pale yellow eyes in his mind. And the pair showed up in the window again. Closer. So, close the glass, fogged with its breath. Chris shivered, his knees buckling. A single claw tapped against the window. It echoed in the small cabin. A gunshot boomed in the night. The thing squealed and disappeared. Gun roared again. Something crashed through the trees. "What?" Chris blinked at the foggy window. Another gunshot sounded, then another. Chris held Maria back, eyes darting between the door and the window. "Hey, you!" called out a deep voice. "In the cabin!" Blood in Chris's veins froze, that voice calling out to him. But he couldn't believe it. How? Why? None of this made sense. "You two need to get out of here," the voice called again. "Fast!" What was a man doing in the forest alone? Chris asked himself. Someone pounded against the door. "Come on, there is no time!" Maria moved to the door, reaching for the handle. Chris grabbed her arm, pulling her back. "No," he hissed under his breath. "What?" she snapped. "We don't know what." "They will be back," the man said, pounding on the door again. "They who?" Chris asked. They werewolves. Where there is one, there is a pack," the man said. "There is no such thing," Chris responded, poker held tightly. Maria stared at him, urging him to move, to let the man in. Chris shook his head. "There are, and it's my job to kill them. Come on now," he snapped. "I can deal with one, maybe two, but..." A howl shook the cabin. Then another. "A fuck," he cursed. "I'm leaving. I ain't dying for you two." "Come on," Maria hissed. "No," he hissed back. "It's not safe." "Neither is here," she said, and lunged at the door. Chris grabbed her arm. "We need to go. I'm going," she snapped and turned the key. "Smart choice," the man said, and the door swung open. Before them stood a short Mexican man with a trench coat and a brimmed hat, a shotgun in one hand and a pistol in the other. "Let's go!" Chris studied him for a second. Another howl tore through the night. Maria ran. "Fuck!" Chris rushed after her. The truck wasn't far, less than a 10-minute walk. Maybe they could reach it. Go, the man said, eyes scanning the forest. Yours is the gray truck, right? Yeah, Chris said, eyes peering into the darkness. He saw them there, two pale yellow eyes, floating in the dark, staring at them. There! He pointed, and the man fired. The werewolf moved. Chris couldn't see it, but he felt it. The ground below their feet shook. Maria shouted, pointing left. Fuck! The man snapped, shooting twice. The ground trembled as the beast vanished into the trees. Chris's chest clenched, every nerve screaming at him to run. Just a little further, he thought, pushing his legs to move, willing his lungs not to burn, forcing his eyes to ignore the glowing pair to their right. Faster! The man barked, switching to the shotgun. He fired, too late, too high. Chris saw the sparks chew bark from a tree above the glowing eyes. They didn't even move, didn't even blink. Maria stumbled, and Chris snatched her, or well, he pulled her to her feet. Run, you fools! He spat behind them and fired again. At what Chris couldn't see, nor did he want to turn, the clearing was just ahead. A pair of golden eyes rose from the darkness in front of them, ground shaking as it moved. You fucking! The hunter snarled, pushing past them. The shotgun roared. A scream rose from the forest, not human, not wolf, something in between. Chris's heart skipped. Relief flooded him as they broke through the trees, into the clearing. Maria slowed, staring at the car. Chris pushed her aside, unlocking the door. Glancing over his shoulder, dozens of pale yellow eyes glinted in the dark, scattered through the forest, like fireflies, only unblinking and unmoving. Chris, she said, pointing at the hood. He glanced at it, then back at the hunter and the eyes. The hunter stood, watching them, guns lowered. Why? Chris asked himself, slamming the door shut. Yours is the gray truck, right? The words rattled in his brain. How did he know? He thought, rushing around the hood. Something caught his pants. Chris, the car, Maria said again. Chris brushed the metal wire off and unlocked his door. Metal wire? He froze. The door half opened. Out of the hood? He leaned over and looked at his car. The hood was raised, wires sticking out. Yours is the gray truck, right? The words echoed in Chris's mind again. You are a slow one, the hunter said. Chris looked up, and the man dropped his weapons, the hat still obscuring his features. But you got there eventually, he said, taking his hat off. His eyes glinted in the moonlight, pale and yellow. Run, Chris told Maria, slamming the car door shut. Chris? She asked, still staring at the car. They pulled the wiring out? Run, now, he snapped, taking a step forward, the metal poker held tightly. You should run too. The man smiled, his white teeth sharp as knives. Otherwise, it's no fun. Fun? Chris thought the words stuck in his mind like a splinter. You want the chase? Maria's voice trembled. The man's lips twisted upwards, showing white teeth. Hunting is fun, he purred. Fear makes the meat taste better. Chris stared at him, unable to comprehend, unable to understand. Fear made the meat taste better? Why? He opened his mouth to ask precisely that question, and his brain finally broke out of the loop. Give us a head start then, he said. Oh, now that's interesting. The man sat down on his haunches. 15 seconds? Maybe even 30? Now, where is the fun in that? You have better eyes and ears than we do. 30 seconds means very little. True, the man stood. A minute then, he let the guns drop. 1, he smiled. 2, Chris grabbed Maria's hand and ran. Branches slapped their arms and heads. Roots snatched their ankles. But the two ran, Chris pulling her along, eyes peering into the darkness. His mind kept a silent count. 21 seconds had passed, but they barely made it 300 feet. He tripped, but regained his footing, pushing them on. They had to get away, had to go as far as they could. The road should be up ahead somewhere, and people. Please God, he prayed. Maria yelped, letting his hand go. Chris spun, hands extended to catch her. But she wasn't falling. She stumbled to the side and back as if something had yanked her. Chris lifted his poker, sweeping it left and right, looking for them. But that couldn't be. They still had 33 seconds left, and true to their word, there were none around them. What happened? He whispered. My purse, she mumbled, yanking the purse against a branch. Purse? At a time like this? He wanted to yell. He wanted to scream. They were running for their lives, and she was worried about a damn handbag? Just leave it, he snapped. 31 seconds left. No, it has everything inside, she whispered. All our memories, all our life. We are running for our everything? He blinked. Even the perfumes I bought you? The hairspray? She nodded. He almost laughed, or screamed, or cried. Instead, he ripped the bag from her shoulder. Take your clothes off, smear mud all over you. What? Just do it, honey, and then run west. But the road is south. I know, circle back later. Please, just once, no time, he said. 28 seconds left. He tore bottles from the purse, spraying perfume and hairspray wildly, gagging on the clouds of lavender and chemicals. He doused himself, the bushes, the trees, the ground, anything he could reach. Everything other than her. The night air stank of flowers and alcohol. What now? She asked. Chris turned to the woman he loved. Mud streaking her skin, clothes around her feet, eyes wide and terrified. Beautiful, even like this. Now run as fast as you can, and silent. And what will you do? She blinked at him. Lead them away, he said, grabbing her discarded clothes. I love you. Go now. I love you too, she whispered and ran. 21 seconds left. Lord, give me strength, he muttered, ripping the handbag apart and crushing 2 bottles. The smell of lavender and honey filled his nose, warming with the chemical smell of the hairspray and the musky scents of the forest. Chris threw one last look west, towards the woman he loved, towards his fiancée. Make it home, he thought, smearing the scented mud on his hands and her clothes, and ran, smearing his muddy hand against one tree and her clothes against another. A howl rose in the distance. 17 seconds left. Chris ran, heedless of the noises he made, heedless of the strain in his legs and back. He had to put more distance between himself and Maria, between himself and their parting spot. Amber eyes glistened in the dark, coming in fast. 12 seconds left. Chris dropped the poker and her clothes and pushed himself onward. The thing howled again, vanished. 9 seconds left. Tree roots grabbed at his feet as bushes stabbed at his legs and branches slapped at his arms. But it didn't matter. The real pain was coming for him, snarling, panting, and howling as it ran him down, as relentless as the passage of time. 4 seconds left. It slammed into him like a truck. His whole body cracked before searing pain stabbed at his arms and neck. Chris screamed. Claws ripped into his back, teeth tearing into his neck. It snarled as claws and teeth sank back into his flesh, tearing him apart. Burning pain exploded in his shoulders and back. Slobbering and munching filled his ears as the world dimmed around him. Blackness setting in. Maria's scream split the night, sharp and terrified, swallowed only by the full moon and the mocking howls of the pack. Chris's heart broke as he died, a beast on his back, tearing into him and feeding on him. You've just listened to Full Moon, a short story from my monster universe. I post new stories twice a week, with the monster universe and collapse running side by side. If you enjoyed this, please hit like, subscribe, and check out the Collapse A shared zombie universe where ordinary people struggle and often fail to survive the outbreak. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.